Please welcome Krista Satterthwaite.
Hola and welcome. Thank you for being here. We're going to catch you up on all things new in compute since the last time we were here. Let's get started. So a few years ago, my husband and I were out on a Friday night having dinner and Chardonnay and talking about something that every couple talks about over a romantic dinner: home insurance. Specifically complaining about the price of home insurance for our rental properties. It kept going up and up and up, and we said, well, you know what? Maybe if we get enough properties, we could self-insure. We don't have to waste our money on insurance, and we thought it might be a good idea. What we didn't know, at that exact moment, one of our rental properties was on fire. No one was hurt, thank goodness, but one of our tenants had left a candle burning on something wicker in the bathroom and left the house. I was really mortified. I thought, oh gosh, this is gonna take so much time and energy from me and money to get the house back to the way that it was before. But I couldn't be further from the truth. What we realized is that between our insurance and our tenant's insurance, everything was covered. The rent was paid for all the months of the remodel. The insurance company did all of the coordination with the contractors, not me. Even the deductible was covered, and we didn't have to pay for it. The tenant's insurance did. So what I realized was that is exactly what it feels like to be taken care of, to ensure that anything that comes your way is handled, even if you don't even know what to ask for, that it's all covered. And that's the principle behind HPE security. Security is at the heart of everything we do. And before you even see a fire coming, if you're shopping for protection, it's too late. That's why we build in protection into the chip, to ensure that we provide that protection you need before you need it and before you even know what you need. Now, when we talk to customers about their biggest challenges, one of the biggest challenges is security. And it's not getting better, it's getting worse. When it comes to the cost of a security breach, it is $4.2 million, or euros, sorry, average, I did do the translation, average per year. And those breaches are happening all the time. We see that 6 times a year, on average, customers experience downtime or data loss. This is a huge problem. And then quantum computing is coming, which is so exciting because we're going to see all these breakthroughs scientifically, but it'll also be able to break through today's encryption. And according to a study, 48% of enterprise customers are not ready for quantum. So the challenges are mounting around security, and we need protection. Next challenge is the new area of workloads. It's so exciting, so many new things, and AI is the obvious one, not just Gen AI, but traditional AI. The other one, VDI, which has been around for a long time, but because of the performance today, people can do more and more through VDI. We had one customer that put their CAD use case in VDI, so computer-aided design in VDI, and they were able to get 400 engineers and designers across the world in a VDI implementation and save 70% on their engineering workloads. Next challenge, lack of visibility and timely insights. So now, I want you to imagine that we're in this room but you're the only one in this room, and it's just a room full of chairs. And I put a red balloon in one chair, and I challenge you to find that red balloon in 2 minutes or less. Now the catch is, it's dark in here. You can't see anything, so you have to feel your way around to find the red balloon. How many people in this room would be able to do that in less than 2 minutes? I don't even think I could do it, and I even know where the red balloon is. Now, if I turn the lights on, all of you can do it, and you wouldn't need 2 minutes to do it. Now, the red balloon is the challenge that you're having, the data you need to get your hands on, the warning you need to see. It's important, and you need to see it fast. And the light is HPE Compute Ops Management. You and many other customers have asked for more and more insights and control, and we delivered with HPE Compute Ops Management. And it's funny, a lot of customers have this already. If they have Gen 11 or Gen 12 servers, a lot of them have it already and just haven't activated it yet. We're going to talk a lot about that in this session. The next challenge, the inefficiency problem. IT is more important than ever before to the business, but that means there's more demands than ever on IT. And that means you need to get the most for every dollar, every hour of your time, and every inch of your data center. You deserve that. And the good news is the latest infrastructure can provide that. Now, Antonio talked a little bit about HPE ProLiant Gen 12, and we created it to address all those concerns I've been talking about: security, efficiency, visibility, and those new workloads. We designed this to deliver next-level security, more performance and efficiency, and AI-driven productivity. Now, this is the lineup. We have something for everyone: Intel, AMD, NVIDIA, multiple workloads, and you can see all of these on the show floor. And there's experts there to answer questions about any platform that you're interested in. Now, as we work with ISVs, one of the things we've been working hard on is with Microsoft and with our premier solutions for Azure Local. We announced one of them, the DL145, about 6 months ago. The DL145 is that small little server. It's really quiet. It's very rugged. It's for edge environments. So we introduced that. And then today, we're announcing that we're introducing that on the DL360 and DL380 Gen 12. Those are our two highest selling server families, so we're really excited to have that support on those servers. And typically, customers are interested in this if they use Microsoft Azure and they want an integrated solution for their on-prem servers. So excited about that. Next, we talk about refreshing and taking advantage of the latest technologies. We typically hear a few different challenges to getting there. First one, budget. One of the unappreciated things about HPE is HPE Financial Services. And it's funny, when I talk to customers about it, it's like they're in two camps. One is, we use it, and we use it all the time, we love it, give us more. The other one is, oh, I'm not really sure what that is. I'm not sure what that can do for me. So just give you one example. Some customers, they want to get their hands on the latest technology, but they don't have the budget. So we could buy your old servers back from you, give you the cash, or if you're not done with your old servers, you're still using them, we could actually lease those from you, give you the cash, you buy the new stuff, pay the lease, and then retire it whenever you're ready. So those are just a couple things we can do in HPE Financial Services. Second thing, virtualization strategy. For some reason, everybody's trying to figure out what to do around virtualization, and obviously, we can help. With HPE Advisory and Professional Services, we've helped other customers figure out the pros and cons of different paths and find the right path for you. Last one, you're going to put more and more on the new servers than you ever did the old servers because there's so much more performance. You want to make sure you have the right level of protection. And with HPE Tech Care, you can get the experts. We know how to fix everything because we made everything. Parts available all around the world, and get it in the time frame you need it. 24/7, 6-hour call to repair, whatever your needs are. Now, let me go a little bit further up here. I'm going to circle back, before I exit the stage, I'm going to circle back to security. When we launched Gen 12, Matt Kimball, from More Insights and Strategy, provided this quote, and he talked about our advantage in security. He was impressed that we took security to the next level. We're the only provider that provides security from chip to cloud. We have a distinct advantage, and I'd like to share a video to explain that a little bit further. Let's play the video.
You've worked hard to build what matters most. A patient's confidence, an investor's future, a factory line's precision, a customer's loyalty. These aren't just priorities. They're the heart of everything you do. Protecting what matters most? That's not optional. It's everything. Heightened risks can bring months of downtime and millions in damage. That's why the right security is never optional. It's foundational. HPE servers aren't just built to perform, they're built to protect. Intentionally architectured with an unbroken chain of trust from the silicon to the cloud, where protection is never an afterthought. We embed security at the beginning, from a unique digital fingerprint etched into the silicon that no other vendor can deliver, to our trusted supply chain. We lock in integrity from the very first moment to safeguard your data as soon as power touches the board. Only HPE builds intelligence directly in the hardware that is always watching, always protecting. And when it's time to retire your server, your data is protected with secure decommissioning. This is security at every stage, from edge to cloud to end of life. Because if it really matters, it's worth guarding with everything you've got. HPE ProLiant Compute, built on trust. Ready for whatever comes next.
All right, thanks Krista for doing all that setup. My name is John. I am part of the servers product team. And I'm going to share a little bit more with you all on kind of a deep dive into a couple of those topics that Krista just set up for us. So that was a great video to lead us into this first section, really talking about how we differentiate on security. And you just heard Krista mention that we really do believe that we have a unique value proposition here that other vendors in the market just can't match. Now, how many of you out there have heard the term secure root of trust? Anybody? Not just from us, huh? Probably heard it from about 18 different vendors in the past couple of generations. So here's the deal. We were the first ones in the industry to come out with a secure root of trust, or a hardware root of trust. Other vendors then did something similar and used similar words. So you've probably heard about 4 or 5 different variations on that term. And what they did that was really smart is they made it so it was kind of hard to understand what the difference was. And if you don't understand the difference, then they're all the same. But what I want to tell you guys today is that they're not the same, and there's something unique about what we do here that actually makes ILO the most secure BMC out there on the market today. So we are the only OEM that actually designs and manufactures our own BMC, and you all know that as ILO. So ILO 7 has this secure root of trust functionality into it, and what that means is we actually burn hash values down into the silicon of the chip, and we design that ASIC to work with our servers so that as soon as power touches the board, you are protected. Now, if you go to a security conference like Black Hat or something of that nature, you'll find almost every single year there's some issue that they bring up a vulnerability with the bootloader. This is the very first part of that boot process when the system's coming up. Off-the-shelf VMCs that work with other server vendors can't protect that step because it hasn't actually had time to connect with the system and make those secure handshakes. We're the only system vendor that can protect that very first step of the boot up process, meaning that we're the only security vendor that can actually start a true secure chain of trust. If you're missing that step, you've already lost that battle. So what are you connecting to in the chain? So when we say hardware root of trust, that's why we're unique, and that's why we're different, and that's why no other vendor can do that same thing that we do. Now, we partner that in the early stages of our server life cycles with our secure supply chain. You just heard that in the video. This is where we can actually validate where that system is created, where all the components come from, how they're connected together, and we can guarantee that configuration has not changed and route from our factories to your site. You can actually check that. It's all secured. We also do end-of-life decommissioning. You heard secure erase, so the entire life cycle can be fully secured in a way that no other vendor can. Now that's kind of step one. Then we step into, well, what are we doing during the actual operation of the server? And there's some cool new things as part of ILO 7 that we do that are unique and new. So number one on here, we introduced something called a secure enclave. And you can think of this as almost a vault inside of ILO, where we have physical protections around things like your encryption keys, your passwords, those types of secrets that need to stay secret within the ILO. So we hear a lot about things like chip clip attacks, where you see in labs people can go to a $20 chip clip from Amazon and go hook it onto a server and steal passwords. And you might think, yeah, but nobody's getting into my data center and going to actually have access to one of my systems to do that. That's not really the problem. That's not why we worry about those attacks. The concern is that someone can buy a server through a completely legitimate process. They can then hook those clips on, steal those secrets, and use those to attack your server where it lives. So because we protect these passwords where they cannot be accessed physically, that's no longer a threat. And we're the only vendor in the industry doing this today. The next one on here, post-quantum cryptography. I've never said that correctly on stage. Post-quantum cryptography. We were the first vendor out there. We're no longer the only one, but we were the first vendor out there that actually built firmware that is resistant to quantum attacks. Now, we did this because there's regulations coming all over the world within the next couple of years where governments are going to require that systems have this. But we know that if you buy a system today, you're still going to be using it in a couple of years. So it doesn't make sense to buy something now that won't work in 2 or 3 years, right? Beyond that, we already know there are threat actors out there today that are collecting credentials, collecting passwords, so that when this technology becomes real, they can decrypt all of that information. So this protection is real now, even though the technology itself is still very nascent. The last one you see on here is we are the first vendor to meet the requirements of FIPS 140-3 Level 3. This is the highest physical security standard of any BMC, according to, or that's been met by a OEM for US federal regulations. And there's very similar regulations here in the EU as well. But no other vendor out there can actually get to this physical requirement. So something else that we are unique and the first in the industry in. Finally, we are now connecting this experience not just from a single server, but all the way up into the cloud. And this is where compute ops management comes in. So we've now got the ability with COM to go in, connect, see the status of your servers. There's a security dashboard that will give you a very quick green, red, yellow. How's my system doing? Where am I out of alignment? What are my security policies? How can I set those across my environments? We've introduced something called secure workflows that actually allows you to protect some of those processes, and Justin's going to talk about that here in just a few minutes. But a number of new features that allow you to take that single ILO view and extend it up at your fleet level in the cloud. So a lot of great security features. That's kind of the foundation of our Gen 12 systems. But it's not just about security. There's also quite a bit to talk about as we start bringing this together, and we can say, okay, now your system's secure. Let's talk about performance, because that's what everybody really cares about when they refresh systems, is, okay, what's my dollar per workload, my dollar per watt, those kind of things. And Krista mentioned on this too, there's some great stats that we can talk about. Right? As we move from older generations, you can see that going from a Gen 10 system, Gen 10 that we just stopped selling within like the last 2 months, it's a 7-to-1 ratio, meaning I can remove 7 Gen 10 systems for 1 Gen 12 system and get the same workload performance. Now, realistically, that's not what anybody's doing, right? You're not actually replacing that. What you're really doing is getting some consolidation and then getting a whole lot better performance on your existing workloads. So your mileage may vary, but this is actual benchmarking we've done with spec to show that this is a real consolidation number. Now, if you go back even older, right, Gen 8, Gen 9, and many of you, I'm sure, have these systems in production, you can see how big those numbers get. 26-to-1 consolidation ratio. And not only am I replacing those systems, but massive power savings at the same time. So that 7-to-1 consolidation, that comes with a 65% power saving. In places like Europe, where there are tons of new regulations coming online about power and about emissions and carbon and all that kind of stuff, this is massive. Being able to save that much power means you have less carbon footprint, meaning that you are better able to meet those regulations. Now we can add on top of this, hopefully at this point you've heard of HPE Morpheus VM Essentials. This is our new open virtualization environment. Using this new software environment, we can now migrate customers at a cost savings of 90% versus some traditional virtualization vendors that will remain nameless. But your savings here really comes from most of these virtualization softwares today are based on a core model, right? Well, as processors have become more powerful, we've moved up from 4 cores to 8 cores to 256 cores, whatever we're at today, right? Huge numbers of cores in these processors, and you're paying massively to license those on traditional virtualization environments. VM Essentials is licensed by the socket, meaning that regardless of how many cores are in there, you've got one fee. So huge savings potential there as well. So let's make this a little bit more real, a couple of real-life examples. First of all, a worldwide retailer based here in Europe. I can't say the name, but it's one you would know. They were in more than 80 markets around the world. I actually own some of their clothes. They were under a lot of scrutiny to, one, report out very frequently on their CO2 emissions because of some of the regulations here in Europe. Two, they set some goals around hitting net zero by 2030. Right, very aggressive goal. That's only a couple years from now. The problem they had was, one, to Krista's earlier point, they couldn't get the insights to actually report what they needed. And two, they couldn't get the performance for their workloads and save the emissions they needed to hit their goals. So they've consolidated, they've started moving to Gen 12. They've actually gone from 80 servers. They have saved 25% of those servers, so pretty big consolidation number there. And by doing that, they were able to not only save dollars, but save the carbon emissions to hit their goals and keep on track to that 2030 goal. Second example, Telefonica, one of the biggest telecommunications companies in the world, based right here in Spain. They had a number of things that they were working on. They were expanding out their telco cloud. They had storage bottlenecks with SSDs that were becoming a problem in their workloads. And then specifically in the UK, they had some power constraints that they were dealing with where they couldn't get enough power into the systems because of the data center. So as they expanded all this, they also ran into security concerns because as you scale an environment, that becomes a bigger and bigger issue. Well, as they moved into Gen 12, all of this went away. They introduced direct liquid cooling, where you get a 20% better power savings, or power per watt savings. So huge improvements there that allowed them to be successful in their deployments in the UK. Security concerns mitigated because of the new advancements in ILO 7. And then obviously all of the performance benefits moving to things like PCIe 5, Gen 5 memory, all those types of things that you would expect from a generation. So these numbers are real. It's not just marketing slides. We've got real customers out there today getting these consolidations, getting these benefits, but there's more than that. And to talk more about how we then take this to the next level with management, automation, and AI ops, I want to introduce Justin McGarry.
Well, thanks, John. I really appreciate the tee up there. So another challenge that you heard from Krista a little bit ago on is the lack of visibility and insights. She talked about that rent balloon story just a few minutes ago. I'm sure we're all going to be talking about that for the rest of the show. Customers need to easily manage their growing IT estates from the data center out to the edge. And customers, just like Telefonica that John talked about, is a great example of that. They needed a solution that secured and automated their environment, and they needed to manage in the most optimal and efficient way. So let's talk about HPE Compute Ops Management. This is the only cloud-based management platform in the industry with a single view. It provides you visibility and monitoring into your HPE environment, but it'll also give you visibility into other servers in your environment as well. So you can easily and securely manage with automation and reduce those security risks that Krista and John talked about a little while ago, as well as compliance issues. We've had some amazing customer adoption over the last 12 to 18 months with Compute Ops Management, specifically with Gen 11 and now with Gen 12. We're up 460% in growth and adoption of that platform. And we have some amazing customer stories that we'll share with you today, where customers have dramatically reduced manual efforts in deployment, and they've also been able to do this with a seamless, simplified management experience. So let's look at some of the real areas of concern and issues that I've heard directly from our customers and talking with you this week here at Discover in Barcelona, as well as what we've heard through some of the surveys that we've run with our ProLiant customers as well. So the first, in the past, before Compute Ops Management, it would take customers an entire day to do firmware updates. Teams would spend up to 8 hours doing those updates, a lot of manual effort that would take place there. Now with Compute Ops Management, you can do that in less than an hour. So you get less downtime, more uptime, and overall productivity in your environment. So what used to be a headache to manage those firmware updates is now automated. And it's done before you even have your cup of coffee and it's ready. The second was server management. Managing servers across several locations takes time, takes travel, consumes your budget. Customers take up to 25 site visits a year, and that adds up really quickly. Now with Compute Ops Management, you can manage that all remotely, again, from data center all the way out to the edge. That's 100% of travel time and expenses saved. So 0 miles, 0 wasted hours by your teams. And then finally, with server onboarding, and Antonio actually talked about this today at the keynote, it used to take more than 100 hours and an army of engineers to go and onboard hundreds of servers. And now today with Compute Ops Management, it takes 1 person, 1 hour. And as Antonio said today in the keynote, that's a 99% reduction in server onboarding in your environments. A few exciting new features I want to briefly mention that we announced this week with Compute Ops Management. Antonio also referenced these in the keynote today. The first is we now have improved visibility and streamlined workflows with a single dashboard with HPE OpsRamp for networking, storage, and now with the power of Compute Ops Management and ILO, servers as well. So those server alerts are now sent directly to that single dashboard, and then you can click through, one click, navigation down to Compute Ops Management, where you can do that investigation and that remediation. So it makes troubleshooting just that much easier. The second is we are announcing our Compute Copilot. This is our first conversational AI assistant that we're putting in the platform. And you can actually have a discussion with this Copilot and ask questions like things around technical queries such as, hey, how's my inventory doing today? How are my health issues? I want to quickly find that red balloon in the room and solve that challenge. That's what Compute Copilot will do for you. So it helps you, again, with troubleshooting faster and checking on your configurations in your environment. So it's great to hear it from me, but let's hear it from some of our actual customers who are using Compute Ops Management today. And the first one I want to tee up for everyone is with Honeywell. They're a global company, across aerospace, engineering, and manufacturing. They needed secure and reliable compute in their environment. And today, they're now using compute ops management to boost productivity and simplify their operations in their environment. And they use compute ops management to do this now. So with that, I want to bring on stage Kevin Filbert, Senior Enterprise Architect at Honeywell. Great to see you, Kevin.
Good to see you.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. I'm glad you could come this week to Barcelona. Thanks for making the trip over. And I know you've had an opportunity to connect with some of your team here.
Yes.
Honeywell is a really innovative company. I know you and I have had that conversation around how you're evolving mission-critical systems for your customers. I know that you operate thousands of servers worldwide. Tell us a little bit, before you had compute ops management, and I know you used to be with another server vendor.
Sure.
You've made that transition to HPE. Now you're using compute ops management. Talk before that, what were some of the challenges that you were dealing with?
Yeah, as you said, we have over 10,000 virtual and physical servers around the globe. I mean, the entire globe. And it was actually what do you call them? I'm so sorry.
I know the
virtual appliances.
That's right. Yep,
okay,
that's right.
So we had virtual appliances, multiple different appliances, right? And what happened is they were problematic at the time. And if they went down, we would lose visibility into our environment, right? And you can imagine 10,000 servers around the world, and although we had redundancy built into a lot of this stuff, if one of them went down, we could lose visibility into, say, 1,000 servers right away.
Yeah, and these are critical R&D sites that we're talking about.
Yes, that's correct. And if we lose visibility into that, then it could affect the supply chain.
Yeah.
And supply chain is money, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so I know some of the challenges you had with your previous tool, I think, if I remember this right, you had 4 different tools before using compute ops management. Tell us a little bit about those multiple tool sets and how you were challenged in your environment.
Yeah, I mean, between gateways and on-prem, appliances, monitoring and managing and getting alerts, it took 4 different tool sets. And now we have 1.
Yeah, wow, and I think there was even an Excel spreadsheet in there?
Yes, in fact, my colleagues in the audience, if we would lose one of our appliances, one of our gateways, he'd rebuild it from scratch, and thank God he had an Excel spreadsheet with all the data to re-import in. It was just that bad. There was no backups at the time with this other vendor. So to rebuild it, it was an import of an Excel spreadsheet to bring 1,000 servers back online.
Yeah, wow. So
crazy.
I know as you went through this kind of transition and moving to HPE, thank you, by the way.
Sure.
You moved on to compute ops management. So tell us, how has that experience been to improve your environment? I shared some of the stats a moment ago. Share how it's been helping you and the team worldwide.
Yes, with Compute Ops Manager, we had visibility with a single pane of glass, right? You have, and I call it the Green Lake control plane with Compute Ops Manager within the control plane. So the nice thing is you have a single view of all your servers. As soon as you log into it, you have a display like it was shown here a few minutes ago. And one of the things it actually showed, was that security, there was a couple of those when you first log in. So a single pane of glass is absolutely everything, right? Yeah. It's a SaaS portal that's all the patching and everything that's done is done by HPE. So we don't have to, patch or do updates on our virtual appliances. It's just there. Yeah. Okay. And the nice thing about that also is if there's updates, we actually will see it the very next day we log in, and we're a follow the sun, operation. It's US, EMEA, Asia Pac. So this is instrumental, and what it does also is it cuts down on the number of resources that we need. Yeah. I mean, it used to take us 40 engineers around the world to patch some of our systems, some of these appliances, and some of our servers. Today, there's 3 of the 4 people in this room today that actually do it.
Wow.
No more 30 engineers follow the sun.
Yeah.
Although they're in EMEA, so I get started, they pick up, and it keeps going. It's a really good story.
So I'm hearing one global view, reduced resources, at least now you've got resources that are prioritized on more business critical initiatives instead of doing those firmware updates. Optimized your IT staff. I know there was an example you gave me around a cluster of 11 servers. You want to share that story briefly?
Yeah, the nice thing with HPE, you know, from the factory, you can have servers delivered. And, you know, whether it's Singapore, Japan, China, USA, nowadays we get servers delivered. They're vSAN ready nodes, so you all could relate to that, right? HCI platform. And, you know, it used to take us several engineers, 5, 6 engineers to build out a cluster. We'd have to send people on site, you know, on airplanes across the world, you know, right to Japan. And the nice thing is now that we can deploy those servers within about 6 hours with one engineer.
Wow. Wow.
So no more flying around the world, and it, you know, you kick it up, you get it going, and boom, ESXi starts loading, and it's one engineer about 6 hours to deploy a cluster of 11 nodes of and ready.
So I think I heard 2 days to 6 hours. That's a pretty dramatic improvement.
Correct, yes.
So Krista and I think John as well, we talked a little bit about security and some of the new capabilities that we're bringing to market across the platform. How did security factor into your experience with Compute Ops Management?
Well, it starts with HGS, Honeywell Global Security, and they are the top of the food chain, right? Okay. So we comply with what they are looking for. The nice thing is, as you saw the view here just a minute ago, you log in, you see your alerts, you see the red, the green, and the yellow. And what happened one day, it was, you know, probably about 6 months ago, HPE updated that SaaS portal, and I showed my boss, hey, look at this, because we're bringing all these HPE servers online. And there was like 90 alerts in red. And it's like, what just happened?
That's a lot of red balloons.
Yeah, that was a lot of red balloons. And what it was certificates. You know, it was certificates. We were able to remediate it rather quickly. And the good thing is it's right in front of you. You can't miss it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, we love it, actually.
That's great. That's good. That's good to hear it's helping you address those security issues right away. Last thing for you, Kevin. I know we just talked about a moment ago the Compute Copilot. Gen AI is a top 5 priority for your CIO, using that across the organization. How do you think you're going to benefit from the Compute Copilot? I know we shared it with your team just here a few weeks ago.
Yes, we did a test drive, they call it, right? We looked at the Copilot, and it was really with the engineers that are in the room. We absolutely loved it. The thing is, you could ask anything. So within HPE, all their massive amounts of documentation, knowledge base articles, all you do is go into the little chat box and you ask it a question. You know, I have a problem with, you know, a NIC going offline. You know, type it in. It was a Broadcom NIC, and it was whatever it may be, and within seconds it actually would give you results where it could take engineers. I could see it, the follow the sun, right? Engineers trying to figure out why we have an outage because we just patched our vSAN cluster. All of a sudden, some of our NICs went offline. We're losing connectivity. We're getting alerts, and there it is. And you could actually click on the link, the knowledge base article, take you to the problem, and even within that, sometimes it'll help you remediate the problem within that response from the Gen AI chatbot.
That's amazing. Well, I appreciate you sharing some of the feedback as we are working through the Compute Copilot experience. I'm really curious. There was a quote you shared with me yesterday that your team said. I want you to share that with the audience.
Yes, I asked one of my colleagues who's in the room today, is there anything you would like for me to share with the group here today? And he says, well, it does what it's intended to do, and it just works. What else do you want from me? Bottom line, it's about the simplest thing is it's by design, it works. And that's the value statement right there.
Yeah, well, Kevin, I really appreciate your time. Yeah. Thank you for flying halfway across the world to join me here on stage and sharing your experience with Compute Ops Management.
Yeah,
thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Justin. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Okay, so I've got one more quick story to share with you. I'm going to have our next guest join me on stage. So Booking.com today uses Compute Ops Management to help reach their sustainability goals. Based in the Netherlands, they operate worldwide, and they're a global leader in digital travel. With that, I'd love to welcome Victoria Brood, Sustainability Manager with Booking.com. Welcome, Victoria.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me.
Yes,
I really appreciate it. So Victoria, just to kind of kick off this section, I wanted to ask you a few questions. So the first one I wanted to ask you is just from a sustainability perspective, what does it mean for Booking.com, and what are some of the key areas in the mission and goal you're trying to drive with the company?
Yeah, definitely. So at Booking.com, it's our mission to make it easier for everyone to experience the world. But that mission comes with the responsibility to ensure that there's a world worth experiencing. So because of that, sustainability is really a core part of our strategy. Like HPE, we've set ourselves the target to become net zero by 2040. But of course, our influence goes far beyond our own operations. So we work hard and support our travelers, partners, and destinations to reach their sustainability goals.
Amazing. So within that, I want to drill down a little bit more. So as a traveler, I personally booked my trip this week. A lot of folks, I think, did in the audience using Booking.com. It's been an amazing experience, and it's really, really interesting to hear about what you're driving from a sustainability perspective. Can you talk a little bit more about your particular focus and some of the priorities you're driving?
Yeah, definitely. So I really work on that net zero target that is focused on our own operations. And our data center strategy is really a key part of that. So from a data center strategy perspective, we focus on 4 key areas. One is clean energy procurement. So we strive for our data centers to run on 100% renewable energy. The second one, infrastructure optimization, to ensure that our data centers run at peak efficiency at all times. Supply chain influence. We work together with partners like HPE to ensure that our supply chain is also driving those sustainability goals. And hardware efficiencies. So on average, we strive for a 5-year average lifetime for our assets, and COMS is really supporting us to achieve that. So all of these really help us to reduce our energy consumption and emissions while still keeping up with demand.
And I know that's making it easier for everyone as well to experience the world and travel. Share a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I think we've highlighted this a bit already, but as mentioned, it's really a core component of our strategy. And I think what is really helpful from a compute ops management perspective is that we have been estimating our emissions for a long time already from our servers, but now we are really able to do it more granular, timely, and more accurate than we did before. And we really translate the emissions from that we have at a server level to our software developers in order for them to also get those insights. So this data that we get to compute ops management is highly valuable.
Okay, that's great. So you're partnering today with IT to get that valuable data out of compute ops management and bring that into some of these key priorities that you're driving from the sustainability perspective.
Exactly.
Okay, that's really great. And so I'm excited about everything we're doing together. I know we just had a conversation the other day around how we can get even more granular with some of the data that we're providing you. Can you share a little bit more about where you see the partnership going?
Yeah, definitely. So we've been collaborating for years actually already on sustainability, and not only on this piece, but also on different areas of our HPE collaboration. We really see this as a long-term collaborative journey because, of course, 2040 is still far out and there's a lot of work to do to achieve those targets. So we're super excited to continuously get better in measuring, but then also in managing emissions and come up with inventive solutions to really drive those emissions down.
Okay, well, I really appreciate your time, Victoria, and excited to be working with you and the Booking.com team that's here in the audience today. So one of the things I did want to challenge everyone after we're done here is feel free to come up and talk to the Booking.com team as well as the Honeywell team as well. So thank you, Victoria, for your time. Really appreciate it. So now I'd like to welcome Krista back on stage to provide some closing remarks. Welcome back, Krista.
Thank you. Thanks. All right. Well, I hope you got a good update on what's new since last year. And I got another quick little story for you. Several months ago, I was at home, and I went to start our 20-year-old dishwasher, and it didn't work. And I had a choice. Do I repair or do I replace? What do you think I did? It's 20 years old. What do you think I did? Okay, all right. I have to admit, I tried to repair it. I called the repairman. He said, you know, I can repair it, but you know, it's going to take weeks to get the part in because you know, it's old. Yes, it's old. I'll wait the few weeks. So my husband and I wait. We're washing dishes. And then one day he says, are you sure we shouldn't just replace this? Because, you know, it's old. And I said, I got this covered. I got it covered. The repairman's coming. So he comes with the part. We're excited to see him. He's working for a couple hours. All the parts are on the floor. And he looks at us and he says, I can't fix this. I don't even think I have the right part. So I had to get a new dishwasher anyway, and it's fabulous. The dishes are sparkling like in a commercial. It's so quiet, I have to put my hand on it to see if it's running, and there's a place for my wine glasses, like a deep place for, so it's awesome. Now the question is, I've been talking about replacing dusty servers forever. I had a dusty dishwasher. Why didn't I just replace it initially? 2 reasons. I thought it was going to take more of my time and energy to do that. And secondly, I didn't know it was going to be that much better. So when it comes to refresh, I can assure you Gen 12 is that much better. You've kind of heard it today, but if you want to learn more, you can go to a Compute Technical Deep Dive tomorrow at 9 a.m. It's in this area. If you want to learn more about Synergy, December 4th, tomorrow, 1 p.m. on the show floor. We have all the servers for you to see. And if you want to see how much better it will be for you, you can leverage this QR code, answer a few questions, and you can figure out for your situation how much better it is. And when it comes to management, we got 2 demos on the show floor. And outside of this room on the left, we're going to have our guest here where you can